So when you think of Iran and Israel, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Arch enemies, right? But here's the twist in their story, and it's a big one. They were once close partners. I mean, we're talking sharing intelligence, military gear, even a joint oil pipeline. We're going to unpack how one of the most dramatic reversals in modern history happened, taking them from a secret alliance right to the edge of an all-out war.
I mean, just look at this. This slide really captures the whiplash of their relationship. Before 1979, it was all about a practical, strategic partnership. And this wasn't some surface-level friendship, you know? This was deep cooperation. Israel's Mossad was actually training Iran's secret police, and you could literally hop on a direct flight from Tel Aviv to Tehran. Then, after the revolution, poof, it all vanished. The language changed overnight to Little Satan, and the entire strategy became about proxy wars and existential threats.
So it all begs the question, right? How on earth did it all go so wrong? How did two countries that had so many shared interests end up locked in a conflict that now threatens the entire Middle East?
Well, that's exactly what we're here to unpack.
The whole answer really boils down to one single seismic event, the Iranian Revolution of 1979. And this wasn't just a change in government. No. This was a complete rewiring of Iran's very identity and its place in the world. This was the moment the old rulebook was not just rewritten, it was torn up and set on fire.
This quote from Ayatollah Khomeini, the leader of the revolution, this is everything you need to understand the new ideology. The Islamic Republic defined itself by being against the United States and its allies in the region. And in this new worldview, Israel wasn't just a rival state. It was seen as a colonial outpost of American power, the little Satan to America's great Satan. This wasn't just talk. It became the absolute foundation of their foreign policy.
And believe me, the new regime didn't waste any time putting this ideology into action. All official ties were immediately cut. The Israeli embassy in Tehran was famously shut down and then handed over to the Palestinian Liberation Organization. This was a brilliant move, geopolitically speaking. Iran reframed the Palestinian cause not as just an Arab issue, but as a pan-Islamic one, which let them claim a leadership role across the entire Muslim world.
Okay, so Iran knew it couldn't go head-to-head with Israel's powerful military directly. So what did they do? They developed a totally different strategy, one of indirect warfare. This became known as its Ring of Fire, or sometimes the Axis of Resistance. It's basically a network of proxies designed to encircle and constantly pressure their main adversary. And the goal here? It's actually pretty simple, but man, is it effective. The idea is to force Israel to defend itself on multiple fronts at the exact same time. By arming and funding groups right on Israel's borders, Iran could exert pressure, it could retaliate for attacks, all without ever launching a direct, conventional war that, let's be honest, it would probably lose.
This quote from a security analyst just nails the essence of the strategy: plausible deniability. Think about it. The octopus's brain, that's Tehran, can always claim it's not directly involved in what its tentacles, the proxy groups, are doing. It creates this layer of separation that's incredibly useful.
And here are those tentacles. The most powerful one by far is Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran basically built them up from a small militia into a massive military and political force that's now deeply woven into the fabric of the Lebanese state. Then you've got Hamas in Gaza. They get Iranian weapons and funding, which gives Tehran a crucial foothold right inside the Palestinian territories. These two groups, Hezbollah and Hamas, really became the primary conduits, the sharp end of Iran's spear, in its strategy against Israel.
Okay, so once that proxy strategy was up and running, the whole conflict shifted into this new, much darker phase, a decades-long shadow war. We're talking about a war fought with spies, with assassins, and with computer code. This was a war of sabotage and deniability, playing out in the dark alleys and server rooms all across the Middle East.
Now, to really get what Israel was doing in this shadow war, you have to understand something called the Begin Doctrine. It's named after a former prime minister, Menachem Begin, and it's basically a policy of anticipatory self-defense. It's rooted in this national mindset of never again, and it means that Israel will not wait for an enemy to get its hands on weapons of mass destruction. It will act first to neutralize that threat.
And this doctrine? It kicked off a solid decade of intense covert action that just ramped up the conflict like crazy. We're talking about everything from one of the most sophisticated cyber attacks in history to a string of incredibly bold assassinations of Iran's top nuclear scientists right on the streets of Tehran.
Let's just take a closer look at Stuxnet for a second, because this was a total game changer. It's widely believed to be the work of the US and Israel, and this computer worm was designed to physically destroy Iran's nuclear equipment. It got into this super secure network, probably on a simple USB drive, then it secretly started messing with the speeds of the uranium enrichment centrifuges, making them literally tear themselves apart. And the most brilliant part? All the while, it was feeding the engineers false readings, telling them that everything was running perfectly normally.
And the impact? Oh, it was absolutely devastating. It's believed that Stuxnet destroyed about 1,000 centrifuges at Iran's Natanz facility. This was a massive setback for them, a surgical strike that successfully delayed the nuclear program for years, all without a single shot being fired.
But of course, Iran wasn't just going to sit back and take this. They hit back with their own covert operations. Just between 2011 and 2012, intelligence agencies said they stopped Iranian-backed plots against Israeli targets in at least 3 different countries: Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Thailand. This shadow war was definitely a two-way street.
So for decades you have this dangerous dance, this model of proxy fighting and covert strikes. It was a dangerous balance, but it was a balance. But what happens when that unspoken agreement finally shatters? Let's just imagine a scenario where the shadow war finally and violently breaks out into the open.
Imagine this number, over 200. That could be the number of Israeli jets taking part in a massive coordinated air assault. In a scenario like this, the operation could hit more than 100 targets deep inside Iran, including the super-sensitive nuclear sites at Natanz and Fordow. It would, without a doubt, the most significant direct attack in the history of this entire conflict.
And then, maybe 10 days later, things escalate even more. The United States, as Israel's main military backer, might feel it has to get involved, launching its own strikes on Iranian nuclear sites to make absolutely sure the program is set back for years to come. In that scenario, the shadow war isn't just over. It's transformed into something far, far more dangerous for everyone.
So what can we take away from this kind of shift? From a hidden, covert conflict to direct, state-on-state war? Let's put on our analyst hats for a minute and break down what this new reality would really mean.
There's a quote that I think sums this up perfectly. The point is, the direct strikes, the missiles, they wouldn't be the end of the story. They'd just be a symptom of these much deeper, unresolved core issues. Iran's challenge to the entire regional order, and Israel's absolute determination to maintain its military edge and prevent a nuclear Iran at all costs.
This really leaves us with 3 huge takeaways. First, the era of plausible deniability would be over. Both sides would be willing to strike each other directly, out in the open. Second, Iran's octopus strategy would be broken. Israel would have proven that it will hold the brain in Tehran directly responsible. But third, and this is the big one, the central issue driving this whole conflict, Iran's nuclear program, would still be there, a ticking time bomb at the center of it all. And so that leaves us with this final, critical question. The old rules are gone. Now that Iran and Israel have crossed this threshold into direct military confrontation, what do these dangerous new rules of engagement mean for the stability of the Middle East and for the rest of the world? The shadow war may be over, but a new, much more unpredictable chapter has just begun.